Hey, this is your name. And they say it ain't easy.
Gang Green
The New York Jets
have their man.
Jets got themselves a great Robert Saleh.
Talk about all gas, no break.
The great one.
We're not talking about effort on the field. We're talking about the process at which we do things.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
Hurry up. Keep your foot on the pedal. Base.
There's no way I'm not gonna have enthusiasm on the sideline.
Hey, own this rep. The New York Jets
Can beat anybody in the world, and I think we're going to win next Sunday.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the A.E.B.G Green podcast, broadcasting to you live from beautiful, amazing, picturesque Crystal Lake Studios in Putnam Valley, New York. My name is Keith Farrell. I'm joined, as always, by the biggest Jetman in the state of Texas, none other than my colleague and co-host, Michael Lagaris, everyone.
Yo, it's the off-season, people.
I'm hyped, and we do have our two other colleagues with us today. You know him, you love him, the majestic beast, former dominating Division I tight end, Maris Red Fox, the big Wookie, Nick Kronk. What's up, Wook?
What is going on, everybody?
And in the building, joining us again, as always, the #1 high school football coach in the nation today, Sammy O'Hare. Sammy, what's going on?
Yo, what's up, everyone?
Oh, in the world right now, some crazy stuff going on overseas. We know that's not why you tune into A.E.B.G. You tune into podcasts, you put on the sports to get away from all that. But the world is a crazy place. The world's changing every single day. Today, what we're going to get into, though, is some Jets football, Jets free agency, go over some of our positional groups from last year, and get into some of these free agents maybe coming to the team this year coming up. Great Super Bowl. Haven't been able to talk to the A.E.B.G Nation since then. Your Rams ended up pulling it out, guys. We're not going to get too much in the Super Bowl. I know some of us picked the Rams, some of us picked the Bengals. I ended up being the playoff champion. Not a big deal. I wasn't going to bring it up to you three. Wasn't going to say anything about it. But I do happen to be the champion. Not a big deal, guys. Came out with the point lead there. Guys, you guys have anything else you want to add before we move on to Jet stuff, Jet offseason stuff, which is why everybody's tuning in right now. Any cherries you want to put on top of that Super Bowl game? Any other comments? Mike, we'll start with you.
I will always try to recognize when I see a member or a person elevate themselves to the greatest of all time in a certain category. And that last play where it was 4th down and they called Donald's number and he went and sacked Burrow to end the game. I think that solidified him, in my opinion, as the best D tackle of all time. And so good for him. Very happy that the Rams won that Super Bowl. Happy for Stafford. Happy just across, even Odell Beckham. I know probably Nick is not happy about it, but good for him. He went through all that stuff. He went to the Browns and all that. You know what? I'm really happy for that franchise. Good for them.
Yeah, and he was cruising in that Super Bowl before he got banged up, hurt his knee there. I know he's already had one ACL, so hopefully he can bounce back from this one. I think Odell Beckham definitely changed some people's opinions on him. Probably not the Wookie, though. Wookie, the Super Bowl smoke is cleared. What do you have to say about that 2021 season and the Super Bowl champion LA Rams?
I mean, it was just a culmination. Best team got hot at the right time because they did struggle mid-season. Why can't I think of his name? The quarterback right now.
Matthew Stafford.
Stafford. You know, he showed it in the Super Bowl too for a little bit there. It looked like it might have been, coming back to bite them again, but they were the more talented team that day. Odell, as much as I can't stand him, I think he finally found a place where it's going to work out for him. I think he proved to a lot of people that he's still got a couple of years left of being a 1B type of receiver, maybe a number 1 receiver some places. So that was, good for him. But Cooper Kupp is something else. That defense is something else. And it was just it was their year this year. I mean, kudos to the Bengals and the young talent that they got coming up. It's going to be exciting. But obviously the better team won. And congratulations to the Rams and all their fans.
And Sammy, finally with you here, we'll let you close it out for us. You rode with the Bengals. You were on the Joe Burrow train. It was a tight game. It seemed like, to me, the Bengals had the game under control for a good portion of the game there. Didn't end up coming with the W. Aaron Donald at the end with the big play, like Mike said, put himself up in the upper echelon in NFL history. What do you got to say, Sammy, Bengals, Rams?
In this era where you're putting up 40-something points a game, the old adage is still true, right? Defense wins championship. So those last two drives, that front seven of the Rams just caused so many problems. And I'll just say one thing. Mike brought him up earlier. I'm still pissed that my man Donald didn't get the MVP of the Super Bowl, man. How do you not give it to that guy?
Yeah, that's interesting. You know what? And Stafford as well, when you look at it, I know he had 2 picks, but one of those picks was a ball that he threw that got tipped. You can't, well, it's still a pick, I understand, but 3 touchdowns for him and a game-winning drive at the end to win the Super Bowl, and Stafford doesn't get it. Donald doesn't get it, who we know second half just dominated. I mean, he pretty much made the 2 biggest plays of the game. But I mean, in the same vein, giving it to Cooper Kupp, the guys carried them all year. So I mean, they had some good options there. I understand either of them could have won it. It was a great game. Nobody tuned in to hear us talk about the Super Bowl. That's old news, guys. People are here right now to hear about these offensive free agents that might be coming to Gang Green in 2022. One of the most exciting times of the year. And I just want to thank everybody who's been riding with the squad, riding with A.E.B.G since day one. Appreciate you all. But in the past 12 months, Mike can vouch, we've had a lot of growth, a lot more listeners, and that started last year in the offseason. When the seeds were getting laid down. Are we going to get Zach Wilson? Who are we going to get in free agency? Who else are we going to draft with all these picks? A lot of excitement in the offseason for Jet fans. Trying to ride that wave again this year, guys, because if we have another good offseason, you know, and it's arguable. I know the record wasn't great. I do think last year's free agency group was decent. Last year's draft was good. That's kind of not, you can't really argue that with the way Wilson played at the end of the year, how AVT played, how Carter played, how Elijah Moore played, how Eccles played. A really good draft last year. We're leading into another draft this year. That's not what we're talking about right now, guys. We're going to go through these position groups. We're going to give you some free agents that might end up on the team next year. The top guys out there we're targeting, maybe some guys we're going to target in a trade. So let's get into the 2022 breakdown, New York Jets, positional groups, possible free agents. Let's go.
The situation kind of got heavy on me.
All right, everybody, welcome back. What we want to start off with here is the group on the offense that I think draws the most concern from people, even though they might have performed the best of any group last year on the offense, which is the offensive line. Mike has done a lot of research when it comes to this line. Last year, we know we lost Becton and we slid Font in. We know towards the end of the year, Duvernay Tardif came in there at right guard. Even though he didn't grade out that great necessarily on PFF, the line overall played much better with him in there. Now, I want to go to Mike first. When you're looking at this line here, we know Tardif is a free agent. We can bring him back, not bring him back. And we know Morgan Moses, also a free agent, Mike. And when you look at the performance of those guys last year, Moses played pretty good, was your average right tackle, and Tardif played pretty good also. Now, before we get into these free agents and discuss who we might be looking at to add to the squad, let's just go take a look at last year again real quick, Mike. I think it's not arguable George Font was the best offensive line, even though ABT may be the sexiest guy, the highest draft pick, Mike. But when you look at what we're looking to fill and the holes we have, what are the first spots you look at, Mike, when you're trying to build this offensive line for Zach Wilson for 2022?
So looking at the line coming up, I'm not really too focused in at tackle. If I was to put a number on it, 5 being I'm most pleased and most confident, and 1 being I'm really concerned, I put the left tackle at about a 4. And I say that because I think Fant did a phenomenal job at left tackle. I think he has a lot of trust from the coaches, from the players, and he has the respect of his other teammates and offensive linemen. And so I think that he is going to be the left tackle, or our number 1 pick in the 2020 draft, Mr. Mekhi Becton, will end up being that position there. If he's not, then he would play right tackle. I would love to bring Morgan Moses back. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do that. But from left tackle perspective for 2022, I think that we're in a good position. Right tackle, it's either going to be Becton, or they can go out and potentially look at some free agents like Trenton Brown, Mike Remmers, Alex Kappa. There's a couple of options out there at right tackle, but I do believe we're going to be good at the tackle position. But to your point, you asked me what position do I really want to look at from a free agent perspective at the offensive line. It's going to be the right guard, and so Tardif, like you said, I hope he says that he wants to come back to the New York Jets. I love his character. I like who he is and what he's done. He won a Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs. He went and fought COVID, really great stand-up dude. And he said he wants to be a Jet, and the offensive line did much better. So I would like to go ahead and bring him back if we can. But if not, there are names out there. Look, Brandon Sheriff has been a free agent since one of a free agent options since Nick Kronk was playing at Marist, essentially. Andrew Norwell, Will Hernandez, Connor Williams. There are a couple of options that we have at guard, but we definitely cannot have Greg Van Roten as our starting right guard going in to next year. And then at center, look, Connor McGovern did a pretty decent job. I'm okay with bringing McGovern back, but there are definitely some options there at center. I think you brought up a really great option potentially from Tampa Bay, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Jensen's going to be a free agent. So now kind of what we're looking at here, guys, is last year's offensive line did finish 11th in the PFF rankings, which is kind of surprising. McGovern rated out as the highest offensive lineman we have. So you kind of have a little flexibility with McGovern because he played right guard a good portion of his career. Or I should say play guard a good portion of his career. So if the Jets don't want to spend the money maybe on a big-time guard and they can get a guy like Jensen, Ryan Jensen from Tampa Bay, one of the better centers in the league. I think he was 13th or 14th in PFF last year. Say they sign him, plop him at center, you move McGovern over to guard. Now you kind of have two spots where you have a solid situation. And then, as we know, Mekhi Becton, that situation's kind of looming over the squad here. Before we get into Becton, because I want to ask Wookie and I want to ask Sammy about him, I just want to throw something at you to give you some context for how good Font played. Because Mike, as the year went on, was filling the A.E.B.G audience in on the fact that Font was playing at an elite level. And I'm not sure if people know how well he played. His 18 pressures on 550 snaps last year was the fewest by a left tackle in the league. Let me repeat that for everybody. His 18 pressures on 550 snaps was the least in the league for any single left tackle. That's impressive, guys. He was third in the NFL at his pressure rate, allowing pressure on the quarterback because he only played 15 games. He missed. The only guys with a better pressure rate than him and left tackle guys are Tyron Smith and Whitworth from the Rams. We're talking all pro guys. So when Mike says he played well, that's not hyperbole. He played at an all pro level last year. Kind of under the radar to a degree. And that's why, leading into this with Mekhi Becton, guys, it's kind of a situation where Font played so well, and, you know, he's protecting the blind side for Zach Wilson there, where we kind of intimated at it. You heard Coach Salah kind of suggest it. Becton's going to have to win his job back. I know he was a high pick. I know he has a big contract. But, Sammy, let me ask you, do you think this is George Font's job at left tackle? And Mekhi Becton should be focusing on maybe right tackle? Or do you think they're going to go to camp, let him battle it out, and they'll be our left tackle and right tackle, and we just have to focus on maybe getting a guard in the draft or in free agency?
I think you don't even give him the opportunity, just move him to right tackle, right? Like, especially with all the injuries, his weight, stuff like that, it's less of a, impactful position for him where he's not going to be facing the best guy on the other side of the field every play. So physically it won't be as demanding on his body. And he's still just such a skilled guy, right? We know that. We've seen it. When he's healthy, he's tremendous. So if you can put him at right tackle and then do something similar to what you said, because that right side of the line is probably what scares me the most. Left side really strong, right side really weak. So that's a big recipe for disaster. So just put Becton over there. And then you've got one position to fill, and you can do that free agency, draft, however you want.
I like that too. And I mean, and you look at McGovern next year, he's going to be the fourth highest paid center in the NFL. I don't think he lines up as the fourth best center in the NFL, but interesting to see what they do there with that money, guys. We have Alex Lewis, McDermott, Feeney, Morgan Moses, and Tardif for all free agents. I'm not sure of that group who they might bring back. Looking at it, if a team doesn't sign Moses as a starter, I could see them bringing him back as a depth guy for a tackle. That could make sense to me, guys. I think Alex Lewis is history. I think McDermott's history. I know Mike is ready for Feeney to be history. He's not a fan of Feeney at all. He's ready to get him out the door, guys. But I do think there's a lot of options here at free agency. And then you have Becton. You have Becton floating out there. That's the kind of the wild card with the offensive line. He was a 74 PFF in 2020 when he played a good chunk of the season. Going into next year, that's kind of a question mark here. Now, free agency, we do have Scherf, like Mike said out there. They have Jensen. You have Tomlinson from San Francisco, a really good guard. You have Kappa, like you said. So there's guards out there. Guards aren't as sexy. Their names aren't as well known. But if you guys go do Google and you look at Pro Football Focus, there's about maybe 24 of these guys out there that are capable. And there's maybe about 6 or 7 that are in the top 60 in Pro Football Focus of the overall free agents that are out there. So a lot of talent out there when it comes to the offensive line. But let's get into a little bit more sexier positions now. We know at quarterback, we're not going to be looking for a starter. guys, right? We're just looking for someone to kind of hold the fort down if anything does happen to Zach, like what happened last year. We had a very unique season last year. Zach Wilson played 13 games. We know Flacco was able to get in there a little bit. Mike White was able to get in there a little bit. Josh Johnson was able to get in there a little bit. There's some interesting stats here from our quarterbacks. Now, Joe Flacco came in at the end of the year, provided a veteran presence. He didn't even play that bad. His quarterback rating actually was a 113 last year, surprising enough, guys. But we know the quarterback position kind of bounced around a little bit last year, and then we got back to Zach when he got healthy. Coming into this year, I mean, the free agents that are out there, because we basically have no one side right now. Flacco's a free agent, guys. Mike White's a free agent. Josh Johnson's not on the Jets anymore. So you're looking at this QB list of free agents who we might have on the squad to back up Zach. And some of these guys, I think, still think they could start. Like, Teddy Bridgewater might think he could start still. Mariota, I think, heard he still wants to start. But they got to be real. Most of these guys are backups now. And if you look at the list, guys, Jameis Winston's out there. Trubisky's out there. Brissett's out there. But the name that I like the most, that I mentioned to Mike, that makes the most sense to me, is the guy who's basically tailor-made to slide in here and be the backup. That's if Pittsburgh doesn't give him a contract to go there and hold the bag for 1 year. That's Ryan Fitzpatrick, guys. Bring him on back as the backup. I said this to Mike. I know Fitzpatrick is a guy that might sign on somewhere this year with a good chance to start. That's what he does every year, right, guys? Every year, every other year, he's signing on somewhere where, yeah, he's the backup, wink, wink, but he might start. You never know. I think that's a really good guy to have as the backup. Think of all the experience he has and what he can offer a guy like Zach Wilson, how smart he is, all the times he's bounced around the NFL, the teams he's been, the offenses he's seen. I don't like that he was at the Buffalo game last year. I get that. That bothers me, but he's a tremendous backup, I think. And then Andy Dalton's out there, too, as a backup. I know Andy Dalton's not a starter anymore. He's capable when he comes in. He played okay last year when he came in from the Bears. There's a few other trade options. But, Mike, do you have anybody out there in the free agent pool, at least, you're targeting right now when it comes to a backup for our boy Zach Wilson?
Well, the first thing I want them to do is capitalize on the value that they have in restricted free agency, and that is Mike White, who currently is a restricted free agent. And there is rumors out there that teams are willing to pay the Jets a 5th-round pick to go ahead and pick him up, and I am all about it. Please take him. That one game, we get a 5th round for that. I'm all in. And then you go ahead and sign your backup. I like your idea about Ryan Fitzpatrick, the all-time single-season touchdown leader for the New York Jets. He would be a great option, but if you gave me, it's probably not going to be the person that I want. I think it'll probably end up being, again, Joe Flacco. And if not Joe Flacco, I could definitely see somebody like Colt McCoy or Tyrod Taylor or even maybe Jacoby Brissett potentially coming in there. But the person that I would want is Mitchell Trubitsky. And the reason why I would want Mitchell Trubitsky is because I would want to hedge the quarterback position. I don't want to deal with having to draft another rookie in case Zach Wilson flames out. But I do think that Mitchell Trubisky has shown some ability to potentially maybe be a franchise quarterback. He's mobile. He's shown accuracy. He had issues over there in Chicago. I don't know if he got a really, the best deal, if you will, as far as from a coaching perspective. But I do think that Mitchell in the right system could potentially be valuable. And so I would like him to be there to really push Zach Wilson. And if Wilson falls on his face, we can turn to one Mitchell Trubisky and see what he's got.
Interesting. That's what I was going to throw at the Wook, actually. I wanted to ask you, do you think that it's in the Jets' best interest to just have a vet behind Zach who's played, who maybe has a lot of miles on the engine there, but if anything falters, he can come in and play, and when he's not playing, can help Zach with some experience? Or, Wook, do you think you go the route Mike says, have someone that can maybe really challenge him as the starter and is still young?
Well, how about this? You had mentioned that as of right now, the only quarterback that the Jets have signed is Zach Wilson, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if it's not too crazy, if the cost for these two players isn't too nuts, what I would do is try to go out and get Fitzpatrick and Trubisky. I would get Fitzpatrick for the short haul. He can still compete with Wilson and get him, as far as being competitive and building that. And also the young cat Trubisky also gets in Zach's head and says, okay, well, this cat is a couple years older than me, and if he plays better than me, I could be irrelevant here. So that's going to, if you can get both of them, plus I just think that, Fitzpatrick, wherever he seems to go, no matter what happened, he's always a locker room guy. Like that team just plays harder, as hard as possible the entire year. So if the Jets, what if the Jets are the the Bengals of this upcoming season? Okay, didn't do well this year. All of a sudden, find yourself in the Super Bowl next year. And the only thing that's really going to get them over the edge could be not a talent, but a personality like Fitzpatrick in that locker room, even if he's not playing. I mean, those guys, that's a guy that anybody that comes across him seems like they'll go through a brick wall for the guy.
Yeah.
So that might be,
And it's also interesting because I think people would say to you, would you be able to do that contractually, which is the first thing you said, but you think about last year. The Bears drafted Justin Fields, signed Andy Dalton, and they had Nick Foles. So, I mean, there's ways to do that, if you could figure it out money-wise. And they ended up using all three guys as the year went on. Foles had to start at the end of the season. So that's not a bad option either. When you look at what the Jets were able to do last year at the quarterback position, I know that Mike White came in and had a great game versus the Bengals. He had struggled besides that, though. Josh Johnson had an okay game. Joe Flacco came in and had a decent game. When you go across the league, guys, only 3 teams got sacked more. We had 53 sacks last year, our QBs. Our quarterbacks ratings was a 76 overall together. So the 20 interceptions we tossed, guys, was only 1 team threw more interceptions. Thank you, Carolina Panthers and Sam Darnold. We appreciate you for existing, so they're not 32nd in that category. So the stats for the quarterbacks, guys, not great. We did throw for over 4,000 yards combined. Only 12 teams last year actually threw for more than 4,000 yards. Very interesting stat. We know Zach Wilson, end of the year, also offered us a little bit in the rushing game, which was good. But, man, it would be nice to have a solid backup. Either way, I think, works for me. I don't think, like, what Mike's alluding to is he wants someone there hedging your bets-wise. If Zach stinks again, do I need to see a whole nother second season of someone not playing great to know he's not good? We don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah, because look, Jet fans, I don't mean to make you guys upset, and I know everyone gets really, really sensitive, but the quarterback sucked last year. I'm sorry to tell you. He did. He was bad in almost every single category, period. Now, did he show signs? Yes, he did. And does he have a history of starting slow and getting better? Absolutely. And I'm not throwing the book away on him, but if we are going to come into this year blind, like, oh yeah, we feel really good. No, we cannot take a guy like Zach Wilson and compare him to Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's rookie season was far, far better than Zach. All I'm looking to see from Zach is that he looks like a competent quarterback next year. I'm not even looking for him to be great because I don't know if he's going to ever be great. I just want to see him be good. Okay. And so let's just not kid ourselves. So I'm the type of person, like, at this point, I'm done with the rookie thing. I'm done with it. If he fails, just go get me a damn quarterback. And that's why I'm saying just go get Mitchell now, put him back there and let him sit. Because if Zach is not much better, it's not even a little better. It's not even, he needs to be much better than what he was, what we just saw, then, there's another conversation coming.
And I think Mike's trying to give it context of all 13 games he started. Because when we were finishing the season doing podcasts, Zach was playing better and he did improve and he didn't throw any interceptions and he looked better across the board. That was the last 5 games he started. His first 8 games he started, he led the league in interceptions. He was dead last at quarterback rating. He had the least. Some quarterbacks averaged less yards than him, but he was almost at the bottom of the league in yards per game. He was taking sacks. He was rushing his passes. So we know how those first 8 games looked. They didn't look great. The last 5 games he did look better, but it was in comparison to him playing as bad as you can possibly play. So when you put it in context, obviously everybody knows this year 1 to year 2 jump for quarterbacks is huge. But in the position Zach's in, we need a massive leap. And there's nothing wrong with protecting yourself against that if someone doesn't make that leap and forcing yourself to go into year 3 without a lot of options. That's what Mike's getting at, guys.
Can I take one thing?
Yeah,
one thing here? So I think I'll just a little opposite approach to Michael. I think this year is going to be really important. This year is the most important year for the next 5 years, right? What we do this offseason is going to set us up for the next 5 years. So with a guy like Zach, I think the one thing that he's missing the most is the cerebral part of football. And I think having a guy like Fitzpatrick, he scored the highest on the Wonderlic test, right? He's like one of the smartest QBs. That's why he's 40-something still playing, right? You put a guy like that with Zach and you help him teach the guy like how to understand, look at defenses, what he's seeing, why he's seeing these things, how they're going to change throughout the game, be more fluid. I think you just set Zach up for more success going forward, having a guy instead of this round table of 7 different quarterback coaches, you have one and Fitzpatrick who acts as like a second one.
Seem like that's kind of what Zach needs, because last year we have a lot of voices in the room. We brought in his own personal quarterback coach. He comes out and says, yeah, I do seem I am a little overwhelmed sometimes. I'm paraphrasing, but you guys know what I mean when he said that, which was like, dude, you're in New York. Don't say that. Just lie, dude. Lie through your teeth. Don't you know what politicians do? Have a poker face, bro. But you know what? He's a Mormon. He's a good Mormon kid. So he just speaks the truth. We're going to ride with him here. I do want to piggyback on one thing Sammy said, that we're going to get to running backs here and talk about last year's running backs. Maybe some guys we'll take a look at in free agency. This offseason, and Sammy's alluded to this, for Joe Douglas, this is what he's going to make or break his entire run on. You know, the whole Joe Douglas era here. I know it's based on Zach Wilson, don't get me wrong. But last year, we drafted Zach Wilson, had a bunch of picks in the draft, got a bunch of guys in free agency, and people said, okay, this is the real kind of first year of the rebuild for Joe Douglas. So last year, I think we let him have that 4-win year. We weren't looking for playoffs last year, most people at least, right, guys? This year, I think it's a little different. They come out this year and they go 4-13, and they stink, and he doesn't hit on this draft, and he doesn't hit on free agency, and we don't improve and make a big leap this year. Coming off an offseason in 2021 with money and all the draft picks, I should say, coming into this year with all this money and all these draft picks, you don't get those opportunities that often. So we have 2 off seasons here. We can really set our team up for the next decade. So we got to hit on these things, guys. And that's what Sammy's alluding to there. Let's get into this running back situation here. I think we know that we're going to be rolling with our boy Carter next year. He played well, Michael, when the year started. He wasn't really producing. As the year went on, I see he got into a groove. The Jets got into a groove. I want to throw an interesting stat at you guys. The New York Jets were 32nd in the league in rushing attempts last year. Last in the NFL in rushing attempts. They were 12th in the NFL in average rush per carry. Who would have thought the New York Jets last year were 12th in the NFL in yards per carry? Nobody. But we never ran the ball. We were 32nd in rushing because we were always behind every single game. So there's some funky stats when it comes to the rushing attack, because towards the end of the year, they did a little better, if you look, the rushing attack. And I do think Michael Carter's the guy. Obviously, he's going to be at least a 1A. I still don't think he's the guy that is going to be our bell cow. I don't think he's big enough. He got hurt last year and missed some games, guys, as we know. But 639 yards for him last year, 4.3 yards to carry. So very productive. We also had 325 yards receiving. After Carter, I mean, Tevin Coleman's a free agent here, guys. And then we still have Ty Johnson under contract. We still have Austin Waller under contract. We still have P. Ryan under contract. Mike, do you think out of that cast of characters I just mentioned, all of those guys are coming back next year? Are you envisioning kind of an overhaul here of the running back position via free agency or the draft?
I think we're going to see an overhaul free agency, and there potentially could be a draft pick. There's a couple of guys there in the mid rounds that we may end up going after, but this is the position I'm really excited about because I feel like we can really add a ton of value here. And based on the type of offense that we run, there are a few free agents that I think would be just a tremendous fit in this system. I think that Michael Carter, again, like to use what you said, the 1A running back next year, he did get hurt. So we want to make sure that going forward, we can kind of spread the wealth around. And there are a few guys out there from a free agency perspective that I really, really, really like. Number one on the list, I love James Conner because of the touchdowns. I love his ability to just push it in there. You know, first and goal, he's the guy you want to have. I love having a guy like that who can complement a guy like Michael Carter. Another guy I think that we should look at is Melvin Gordon. If he breaks free from the Denver Broncos, first thing I'm going to tell you right now, his teammate is going to end up being one of the top 10 fantasy draft. I can tell you that right now. The rookie running back over there, what's his name?
Javonte
Williams, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Javonte with a J, I think.
Javonte. So if Melvin Gordon ends up breaking free, Javonte Williams is, I'm going to tell you guys right now, probably in redraft, he's going to be pushing top 5. Even in redraft, not even dynasty, but redraft, from what I've heard, like how much hype he's going to have. So, but anyway, I think a Melvin Gordon would be a tremendous compliment. And then the last guy that really, 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 I think would be awesome to bring on is Raheem Moster. Imagine having Michael Carter, Raheem Mostert, and then Tevin Coleman. I mean, that is the San Francisco 49er running back team all over again. You know what I'm saying? I would definitely bring in a home run hitting running back like Raheem Mostert. You bring in one of those guys I just named, Connor, Mostert, or Melvin Gordon, and combine it with Carter, and then you got that is a really, really solid running attack. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, there is actually a lot of free agent running backs out there. I mean, so the guys that are rated the highest by PFF, I mean, like, look, what do you think, for instance, PFF, the number 1 rated running back in free agency, Wookie, is Cordarrelle Patterson. And it's just like, he's a Swiss Army knife guy, but that's not, I mean, can you count on him? Not really. He's not someone where you're not going to give him 15 touches, right? So that's a weird, and Leonard Fournette's right after him. Leonard Fournette's productive too, but he's another guy that I'm like, do you want to give big money to Leonard Fournette? Probably not. I don't know. Running backs don't really get big money anymore. Don't get me wrong. Most of them don't. I do like Connor a lot, like Mike said. Connor has 44 touchdowns in 65 games in the NFL. What he does, he gets the ball in the end zone. Last year, he had 18 touchdowns. He was supposed to be a compliment to Chase Edmonds, who was a much better running back than Chase Edmonds.
Hell yeah.
I mean, it wasn't really comparable. Chase Edmonds is also a free agent, another good running back out there, guys. We can look at. I do like Gordon a lot. I mean, you also have Rashad Penny out there. You have Sony Michel.
He played well towards the end of the season last year too, Penny.
He did. And a guy like Sony Michel ended up not getting a lot of burn. I'm not saying as a starter or anything like that, guys. I think that's someone that could be he's going to end up being a depth running back on somebody's team. He might be someone, if we do bring in, say we don't go out and draft someone high, or we don't go out and bring in, maybe a Connor or a Gordon or someone with a name. Maybe they bring in a Michelle and another lower running back to go with Carter. Maybe that's what they do. Maybe that's the route they take, and they go free agency. I know last year, when it comes to rankings in the league, we were 27th in total rushing yards. So not great there. Like I said, attempts we were last. 17th overall in rushing touchdowns. So we can definitely use some improvement. When it comes to trades, you've been hearing, not that you've heard the Jets in the mix, guys. You heard Saquon Barkley's name floated out there. I know Mike wants nothing to do with Saquon Barkley. I don't even have to ask Mike. I already know that. But Alvin Kamara. Now, the Saints are in meltdown mode. The Saints are $75 million over the cap, guys. Do you understand me? So they have to get rid of contracts. Alvin Kamara is one of the biggest contracts they have. They have no quarterback right now. They're the highest contract. One of the highest contracts they have is Alvin Kamara's. I don't know if he's available or not. I don't even know if that's a reality, but just someone to keep in the back of your minds, Jets fans, for the Jets to maybe make a move. That would be tremendous if they did.
Another guy is Ezekiel Elliott. He's either going to get cut or traded, or if they keep him, then obviously Cowboys stay in their issues. But he's another one to watch.
Yeah, and you know what? And even Tevin Coleman, like Mike mentioned, his yards per carry was the same as Carter last year. Tevin Coleman is someone who does have a tendency to get banged up, but when he's one of those players, when he's on the field, always produces. And last year, he played pretty well. In the games he had to spot start for Carter, I even had to start him in fantasy football one week for an emergency. He actually played pretty decent, Coleman. I think he still has a little bit of tread left on the tires. So, I mean, if they go out and draft a guy high, second, third round, maybe, I don't see them drafting anyone in the first round, or they go out and sign one of these big-time free agents. Tevin Coleman only cost them $1 million last year. All these other guys they got under contract all are under $1 million right now, so I don't think Tevin Coleman will cost a lot. For the production he gave you, that was a bargain last year for Tevin Coleman. He only cost $1 million. Him and Carter basically didn't cost us anything, guys. So I think he's a guy to keep an eye on. But now let's get into the sexiest position that everybody's talking about, where we're looking at all these free agent wide receivers, guys. People are salivating. I know last year we went out and grabbed Corey Davis. We drafted Elijah Moore. We know those two guys are coming back. But separate from them, Crowder's a free agent. Berrios is a free agent. Keelan Cole's a free agent. Jeff Smith's a free agent. So even the depth guys we had last year are free agents. Now, when we get into the guys that were already on the squad, let me ask you, Sammy, Crowder, Berrios, Keelan Cole, of those three guys, which one of those dudes are you the most interested in bringing back?
I think you got to bring back Berrios. I think he just adds value beyond that position. So, you always look for what else can guys do. You know, I didn't really see. Yeah, Keelan Cole had a couple like highlight catches that were like, holy crap, last year. You know, but I think in terms of consistency, his relationship with Zach Wilson, right, that's already quickly established. I think it's really important to keep somebody like that. You don't need. You know, if you have him, you don't need Jamison Crowder and Eli Moore and Keelan Cole. Like, you don't need those guys. So you go out and keep Berrios, keep the other two, and then, dude, take all of your money. I know he's going to go probably wherever Rodgers goes, but you take every dollar you have and you go, please, Defonte Adams, come play for my football team. I will give you $60 million. Like,
I so agree with you, dude.
Is somebody's wife listening to Sarah McLachlan right now, or a girl in their house? I hear that shit in the backgroround. And that makes me think of sad commercials with dogs in cages. And I don't want that on during my podcast. Do you understand?
Allison was listening to, she's watching Dawson's Creek. It's the theme song.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
No, but Keith, did I not? Sammy, I just talked to Keith about this. I just spoke to him. I said, you know, he's going to want $30 million. And that's a lot of money. Look, that's a lot of money. I get it. I get it. But you want to know something? Hopkins is earning $27 million as we speak, and look at what he has done for Kyler Murray. Okay, and I don't give a shit. Excuse my language. If we have to overpay this man, he's the best receiver in the NFL. You bring this man on to look, and it's not even just about the Jets going to a Super Bowl or anything. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with Zach Wilson. Give him the best toy out there. Give him the best. So there is no excuses. So there's zero reason why he isn't successful. Put him, right, with Elijah Moore and Corey Davis and Braxton Berrios and whatever we do at tight end. Man, Defonte Adams, I will pay that man $30 million a year just to make sure that our offense is going in the right direction. I could not agree more. In the beginning, I was kind of like, yo, that's a lot. But then I looked, and I'm like, you know what? Hopkins is making that much, and sometimes you just throw the bag at him. Bring him on.
Yeah, and that's the number
Swap it out
one.
on the table.
Yeah, the number one free agent in all of the NFL this offseason is Defonte Adams. At any position. Name any position. Even PFF has him ranked number one of any free agent. So, I mean, you guys are not wrong when it comes to the value he's going to provide to a team. We don't have to go into how good Defonte Adams is, guys. When we get to some of these other free agents that are out there, I mean, there's a long list this year of wide receivers that at least have been productive in the past or could help the squad in comparison to what we had last year. Now, I think there's a bunch of guys here that if Corey Davis was in this list, there's a lot of guys I'd have ahead of Corey Davis signing as a free agent, guys. Smith-Schuster, I'm not saying is above Corey Davis. They're comparable to one another. Michael Gallup, we know Odell Beckham's probably going back to the Rams. Mike Williams from the Chargers, I know can be had. He wants a big contract out there. He's another guy who's pretty good.
Can I ask you about him? I want to stop here because he is probably going to break free, Keith. And he's going to demand top dollar. He already said it. If we get him, we're going to have to pay him 25, something like that. Okay. Is he really a number one though?
No, I mean,
Right?
He's not 25, like that type of money.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand how these negotiations work. You're projecting yourself to be as good as these guys that make that money, etc. But he had like 1,100 yards last year. He had a decent season, but you know, the year before that, he had like 800 yards. Besides that, he's barely had a 1,000-yard season.
Right.
He's not someone that's been consistently. He reminds me of the situation when we signed Corey Davis last year, where we're signing someone who just had their best year, so good for them coming into free agency, but does not have a history of being super productive at wide receiver, at least to a number one level.
Exactly.
So Mike Williams is not a number one to me. I know Defonte Adams out there, Chris Godwin's out there coming off an injury. Guy that's kind of lost in the mix was a player who got franchise tagged last year, who everybody was hoping was going to maybe be a free agent. We'd have a chance at Allen Robinson. Guys, He had 1,250 yards, 6 TDs back in 2020 with Mitchell Trubisky throwing the ball all over the place. Allen Robinson, insofar as routes, hands, speed, size, he's one of the best receivers in the NFL. He just gets lost in the mix. He's in Chicago. Last year, and I'm not hating on Justin Fields, he might be good. He couldn't throw a football, though, to anybody last year. Receivers' numbers, it's like the receivers the first couple years with Lamar Jackson. Your numbers were non-existent. That happened to the players on the Bears last year. There's no way around it. Darnell Mooney was their best receiver last year on the Bears. Stop it. Allen Robinson, all-pro level receiver, who I don't know. I think he's going to be hitting the free agent wire. Another guy to keep an eye at. When we look at the squad last year, our leading receiver, even though he only played 11 games, Michael, Elijah Moore, 538 yards for him. A lot of damage in his last 5 games. The first 2 or 3 games, he was basically non-existent. 5 touchdowns for him. We know Corey Davis produced. Besides that, Keelan Cole, Crowder, Berrios, all similar numbers. I'd love to bring back Berrios. I know this has been bandied about and talked about with Jet fans a lot. We know he's a free agent. What's the number you feel comfortable bringing him back? If they sign him to the same contract that, say, Crowder was signed to last year, I'm fine with that. 8 or 9 million or something like that, but it can't be too much money guaranteed. And then if they do sign into a contract of 8 or 9 million, that's the amount of money you pay a receiver that's part of the offense. Not just a guy who's going to return kicks and get 2 or 3 looks a game. You give someone $8 or $9 million, that's someone who's going to get those 4 or 5 targets a game and give you that additional value when it comes to kickoff returns and punt returns and stuff. You have Christian Kirk from the Cardinals, not a bad receiver, guys. You have Will Fuller, always injured. You have Emmanuel Sanders still out there playing somehow, still doing it. When it comes to the squad, I know we could use an overall, after the first and second guys, we need some depth at wide receiver because we saw last year, we thought Keelan Cole would be helpful. He really wasn't as the year went on. Zach didn't seem to have that many targets to throw the ball to once Moore went down, once Davis went down. In trades, you've heard Michael Thomas's name, another Saint with the salary cap situation mentioned. You heard Calvin Ridley mentioned. And Mike, I know there's a kind of a dark horse guy you've heard mentioned, not a lot of people are talking about though, from Minnesota you want to keep an eye on. And he's a guy that could be super valuable and reliable for our boy Zach Wilson, especially in the red zone.
Yeah, Adam Thielen. So Minnesota obviously is in some cap hell. We'll talk defense next week, but their defensive end Hunter may end up getting let go or traded. So we'll be talking about that from an edge perspective. But wide receiver, obviously they've got the best young wide receiver, or maybe second, if you will, if you're calling Chase the number one now.
Him or Chase, they're one.
But both of those, Justin Jefferson and Chase, are the 2 best young receivers in the NFL today. Thielen was their best receiver before Jefferson got there, and he could be had. So I wouldn't mind bringing somebody like that in my preferable world. I would bring in a number 1 wide receiver and not draft a rookie wide receiver at this point, because we need to get Zach the best help. Ridley is definitely extremely exciting to think about in bringing in as the number 1 receiver, but I'm a little bit worried about New York City and his mental health, because New York City will annihilate you if you're not ready. Okay, look, I'm just sorry to say, if you can't handle it in Atlanta, what do you think? What you think you're going to handle it in New York when you have a bad game? So I look at all these guys, man, and to me, I think the best option out there for us, Keith and Sammy and Wookie, is for them to go get Amari Cooper from the Dallas Cowboys. I do think he's going to end up getting let go, and just given his talent, he has been a number 1 receiver in the past for the Raiders and then for the Dallas Cowboys. I think that given his money, I think he could fit right in to this system and add and be that number 1 receiver for the New York Jets.
Do you have any concerns with Cooper when it comes to the injuries and stuff like that, Mike? Because it does seem like when he's in there, he's productive, but he does tend to get banged up a little bit. What is his contract looking like for Cooper next year? Is he somebody, I know Dallas, they need ways to free up space to pay guys. And they have Ezekiel Elliott, they have Prescott now. Cooper has his big contract. They have a tight end they might lose. We're going to get into a moment with these tight end situations. That's a guy to keep in mind. I was going to ask the Wook, when it comes to Chris Goblin, I know he was banged up last year, a guy that's always been super productive. He's one of the highest ranked free agents too here. The number 2 receiver on everybody's list after Defonte Adams is Chris Garwin. Wook, do you see him as a guy that is a legit number 1 receiver, or more of a guy that's super productive and plays great, but kind of needs a 1A like a Mike Evans there to be effective?
That's exactly what I was thinking when you were asking the question, Keith, because we've never really had a chance to see him be anything besides what he's been, which is a great 1A or 1B, however you want to put it. Besides a couple of times here and there, maybe where he's, Evans has been injured for a game or so, and he had to be the number 1, and he's been productive. The kid's a good wide receiver. Question is, I'm looking at all the receivers, and I'm going, okay, who makes sense who's going to be the best wide receiver out of this bunch that's going to be number 1 wide receiver over what the Jets already have? And that narrows the list down considerably, but I think Goblin's on that list.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think you have Elijah Moore and you have Corey Davis. I think Moore has the highest ceiling. Corey Davis has been productive in his career. We know he's a legit NFL receiver. Neither of those guys at this point can we say is a legit number one home run receiver that we know of. Defonte Adams is that, like Mike said. Chris Garwin has been tremendous in the NFL. We know that. Maybe there's some guys they could draft, but whatever they got to do just to give the kids some weapons. I mean, when we were going through the playoff run and you saw what Chase is able to do for Burrow. Burrow's a great quarterback. Don't get me wrong. He puts the ball where it needs to be 9 times out of 10. But also, if things break down, he can just throw the ball up to Chase. The guy's going to make a play. And we saw Corey Davis do that in the Tennessee Titan game, one play for Zach. But you saw what Zach can do when it comes to the gunslinger mode. We need dudes that can go out there and make those plays for him when he's in gunslinger mode. Because it seems like almost like that's what he's the best at. And one spot last year we did not have a lot of production. And I don't know when the last time you can say we really had a lot of production from this position is the tight end position. Now, I know last year Croft didn't play that bad. He only played 9 games. He got hurt. Ryan Griffin played most of the season. Ryan Griffin, guys, was our leading tight end last year. He had 260 yards. So it's obviously not a position that we put a lot of focus on. Very end of the year, the last game of the year, basically. The Tampa Bay game, I should say. Kenny Yeboah had a couple catches there for Zach. Not a position we have a lot of focus on. Not a position we have a lot of talent at. Kenny Yeboah is signed for next year. Ryan Griffin is still signed for next year. He could definitely get cut. Tyler Croft's a free agent. We have Wesco coming back, more of a blocking guy. Mike, this has been a black hole for the squad for a long time. And you see with these teams in the playoffs, the better teams, none of them just ignore the tight end position. I mean, all these teams have a competent tight end at least, right? Or someone at least they could target in the red zone, where it seems like the Jets have just put that by the wayside for such a long time. Do you think when it comes to the draft or free agency, Mike, it's going to be a spot we target this year? Or do you think it's going to be same old next year? They're just going to run it back with just like kind of a run-of-the-mill cast of characters here at tight end?
This is a sensitive topic for me because, I'm 41 years old, and in my whole lifetime, the Jets have had, to me, one tight end that of note, and that's Dustin Keller. In my lifetime, just being completely honest. We've had others, Beck, a bunch of other guys, but nobody that I thought was really consistent weapon out there. And I can tell you that if you gave me the choice of any free agent in coming up in 2022, my number one free agent in 2022 would be Schultz. And Schultz, who is the tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. And I say that not just because of how versatile he is. He's very good in blocking. He can play the short game, the long game. He has some speed and size. He has really great hands. I think he would be perfect in this situation and would be an amazing weapon for Zach Wilson. And what's exciting about Dalton Schultz is that the Dallas Cowboys cannot franchise tag him right now. They can't. They don't have the room. So unless they cut one of these other people that we just talked about, Amari Cooper, Ezekiel Elliott, do something to free up the amount of money they're going to need to franchise tag him, Schultz is going to end up breaking loose. And if I'm Joe Douglas, I throw the bag at him. I throw the whole bag at him because this is all about Zach Wilson. It is all about him. Okay. Like that's why I said my second one would be Defonte Adams. I would pay him a fortune. Okay. We need pass catchers, reliable pass catchers that could be weapons. And that guy, there are other tight ends in this free agent class, but that would absolutely 1000% be my pick.
Yeah, I mean, Schultz, 6'5", 260, great hand, 800 yards last year or something like that. So he's one of the best tight ends, I think, in the league that is maybe slightly under the radar for most people, unless you're a Dallas Cowboy fan. I know Dallas is a national team. I want to just give a quick shout out to Mickey Schuler when I was 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old. Mike, that's probably the best tight end the Jets have ever had. He's all-pro twice when we were younger. You forgot that era. That's the 80s. Sammy, you weren't even alive, so I'm going to give you a pass on that. You shouldn't know who Mickey Schuler is. When it comes to the Jets' tight end history, though, it's not great. I mean, Kyle Brady had a few good years. Remember, we drafted him from Penn State. Like Mike said, yes. Dustin Keller, man, in the most recent past 20 years, that's it, dude. I mean, that's the only real tight end that's been very productive for us is Dustin Keller on a consistent basis. He had 3 or 4 years there. He was great. I do like Gesicki from the Dolphins, Mike. 780 yards for him last year. If you look, 700 yards the past 2 years. He's not going to give you a lot in the way of a blocking tight end, but that's not what we're looking for here with Zach. We're looking for a weapon for him at tight end. I do think Gesicki can provide him that. He first 2 years were a little with Gase, not the best. Or first year with Gase, second year without Gase there, but weren't the greatest. But the last years he showed you can be a weapon. Another guy that if he was on a big-time offense, I think would have some big-time stats is Gesicki. And also, there's a few other guys. Zach Ertz is out there, a veteran. He's lost a step. Don't get me wrong, but I mean that'd be a big-time upgrade for us at tight end. And Njoku's out there from the Browns, somebody that when they targeted always, had some problems with drops. Don't get me wrong. Also made some great plays for them. And when you read the Cleveland vlogs, they think he's great one week, they think he's a bum the next week. So Njoku's a guy to keep your eye on. And Evan Ingram, throws at the look. Your boy Evan Ingram. Now the Giants haven't had a chance to bring him back, but Evan Ingram's a guy that when he came in the league, look in my mind, he's like the next Jeremy Shockey for you guys. As good as he was with the hands. Then he went on to have some very high-profile drops and just bad plays, which will bring anybody down. Last year, he wasn't too much of a factor. Wookie, do you think he still has something left in the tank here, or do you think Evan Ingram is just what he is just an average tight end, and maybe he was overhyped when he came into the league?
I think he's got stuff left in the tank. I think he's drops. He's been injured, unfortunately, more often than not. But he's flash talent. So I don't think it would be a horrible free agent signing for you guys to get Evan Ingram, but you'd have to buyer beware. You know what I mean? You'd have to know that this is probably what he's going to be. Maybe he can achieve on average a little bit better play for a few more years if he stays healthier. But he's talented. It's just it's not come together for him in totality yet.
I think that Daniel Jones doesn't help him either. I'm not trying to pile on.
No, not at all.
Because his first year he had Eli Manning there still, and he had 115 targets. He almost had 800 yards. He was. It looked like this kid's the next tight end in the NFL. And then Daniel Jones came into his life. Last year he had he played almost the whole season. He had 400 yards last year, and this kid's a stud. So actually, the Giants' offense as a whole last year confused the whole planet. Because on paper, before the year started, you guys had all these receivers. You have a tight end. You have Saquon. In my head, you guys are scoring 30 points a game. I don't know who to put that on. But Mike, go ahead. What do you got to say?
Keith, the name I just remembered, who I just heard about it. Okay, and I wanted to hear what your thoughts were on this. And I thought about it with Njoku, because Njoku could end up being a potential also value add. But what do you think about Jarvis Landry as the number one receiver? Because I just heard he flipped out on Twitter and he's gone essentially from the Cleveland Browns. Is that a potential number one receiver also?
I don't see Landry as a number one receiver. He's a possession receiver. So we already have those guys. I think Elijah Moore can do everything that Landry could do, but better at this point, and he's younger, he's less injury prone. Corey Davis, different type of receiver. I know he's a name, I know he's consistent, I know he's a good, the thing is, if you're gonna bring in Jarvis Landry, just sign Crowder back. There's no reason to bring Jarvis Landry into my eyes. Jamison Crowder and him do the same thing. There's been no point in his career when Jarvis Landry's been some elite receiver. So at least as far as I'm concerned, he's someone to keep an eye on. And we don't have depth at wide receiver, so he would be a good add to the squad. But do I see him as a number one receiver? No, I don't.
Tight ends, I would like to see them maybe sign multiple. I would be okay with them signing Schultz and Ertz. We talked about the importance of the veteran presence with someone like Fitzpatrick. I think you get Ertz, who's a sure-handed guy. He's been around for a long time, played for a bunch of different quarterbacks. I think he could be another guy who's a valuable asset, especially around that red zone, because he just always finds a way to get open. He's done it forever.
You need to have more than one tight end in the squad. Going into next year with Ryan Griffin and Yeboah and Wesco as our tight ends is not going to make anyone excited, or not going to scare any defensive coordinators. It's not stressing anybody out. So I just love to have anybody at the position that was a threat. That the other team, when they play the Jets, has to go, oh, they have, Evan Ingram, even if I'm just throwing a name out there. Somebody, the other team's like, I have to at least cover this guy. I know Griffin was okay in the red zone the first year. No one's worried about Ryan Griffin. And Wesco's a blocking tight end. And Yeboah had a couple good catches at the Tampa Bay game, but he basically didn't play all year. He's basically was just a bench player. So I do think it's a spot that's been overlooked for a while. I love for us to invest in this. Could be in the draft, could be in free agency, guys. But it's somewhere we do need to improve to help Zach out. And like you guys have been saying this entire episode so far, just give the kid as many weapons as possible. Hopefully we gave you guys a good primer for free agency. We're going to do defense next week, go through all our defensive positional groups, go through all the defensive free agents, guys. That'll be a lot of fun. Mike, if anybody does want to get at us, support us, or be involved in the A.E.B.G world in any way, shape, or form, how can they do that?
Guys, we're on YouTube, so please like, subscribe, give us a listen. We really appreciate it. You can find us on Facebook at AEBG.JetsRadio, on Twitter at AEBG_NYJ podcast, and on Instagram at jet.AEBG.
You heard the man. On behalf of the biggest Jet fan in the state of Texas, Michael Agaris, and the big stinking Wookie Nicholas Kronk, and the #1 high school football coach of the nation today, Sammy O'Hare. My name is Keith Farrell. Catch you next week, everybody. Peace out.